Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 4th Intercollegiate English Speech Contest for the IIBC Cup. We hope all of you here at赤坂Intercity Conference Center and everyone watching this stream live on the internet will enjoy today's contest. Two hosts will serve as the masters of ceremonies for today's contest. My name is Leo Branch, and I was the third place winner of the first and second contest. I will be serving as the masters of ceremony for the first half of the contest.
My name is Satsuki Maeda, and I was the second place winner of the second contest. I will be serving as the master of ceremony for the latter half.
This contest is hosted by IIBC, the Institute of International Business Communication, and is supported by the Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science and Technology, Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Japan, and the America-Japan Society, and International Education Center. We are honored to welcome our distinguished guests for today. We are pleased to introduce Mr. Yo Kono, Board Chair and CEO of International Education Center. Thank you very much for joining us. Today, we are welcoming 8 speakers from across the country who won the preliminary stages of this contest. This contest aims to provide the arena for those great English speakers to compete, as well as to showcase the best speeches as great examples for future speakers. Firstly, Mr. Hiroatsu Fujisawa, President of IIBC, will deliver the opening remarks. Mr. Fujisawa, please.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Distinguished judges, honored guests, and the faculty members, and most importantly, very talented speakers, finalists today. This year marks an extraordinary milestone for this contest. Last year, we have 60 applications. This year, the number has grown to 119. This is a historical high numbers of the contest. This remarkable increase reflects the expanding the meaning of this contest, but more important is growing enthusiasm among the university students to challenge themselves and share your value with us. Excuse me. This year also brings us another exciting initiatives. This is the first time for past award winners and the finalists, they return to the speeches, this contest, not as speakers, but as members of our organizing staff. Okay? Thank you very much. Their presence symbolizes the continuity and the community, continuity and the community that this contest fosters. But as a beginning of a single speech on this stage can evolve into a lasting connections. We are truly grateful for their dedications and the willingness to support their younger generation of speakers today. Thank you very much again. Today is not simply about competitions. It is about the courage to stand before the audience, to express your thought in another language, and to engage in the meaningful dialogue across the differences. To all your finalists, today, this stage is yours. Speak with convictions, speak with clarity, and above all, speak with your own voice. Thank you for being part of this historic fourth edition of IIBC Cup. Let us begin what promises to be an inspiring and memorable hours. Thank you very much. Good luck for everyone.
Now, the IIBC Cup will be returned to the contest by Miss Risa Hiraoka, the winner of the third contest. Miss Hiraoka, would you please come up to the stage? Ms. Hiraoka receives a replica of the IIBC Cup. Now, we would like to ask Ms. Hiraoka to give us some comments.
Thank you, the Master of Ceremony, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to thank everyone, especially the organizers, for having me here again. This is my third time to stand on this wonderful stage. And I'm really willing to hear all the great speeches today. And to speakers, you might be nervous, you might be afraid, but don't worry, the judges are really, really nice. And this is one of the biggest chances to deliver your speech, to deliver your message to the world. So be confident and believe in yourself, and I'm wishing the best luck and good luck. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Hiraoka and Mr. Fujisawa. Now, I would like to introduce today's judges. Firstly, Dr. Shoko Sasayama. Dr. Sasayama is currently working as an associate professor at Waseda University, where she teaches applied linguistic courses and manages a college-wide English language program. Prior to joining Waseda, she worked as a researcher at ETS in Princeton and as a professor at the University of Tokyo. Her research focuses on second language acquisition, pedagogy, and assessment. Next, Dr. Justin Jacobson. Dr. Justin Jacobson currently teaches humanities at the American School in Japan, where he has been a faculty member for 18 years. He holds a PhD in geography from the University of Minnesota, which included a research year at the University of Tokyo. Prior to graduate school, Dr. Jacobson served as a Peace Corps health educator in Zimbabwe and taught English on Fukue Island in Nagasaki, Japan. Dr. Sasayama and Dr. Jacobson will be the questioners in the question and answer session, while also judging the speeches. Next, Ms. Saori Nakasone. Having studied at the Department for Science and Techniques for Expression and Communications, Sorbonne University in Paris, she worked at the delegation of the European Union to Japan over the last 40 years. At the age of 17, selected as a Japan representative for the NASA tour to commemorate the launch of Apollo 17, she had the honor to bring back the Moonstone to Japan. She has served a judge for the His Imperial Highness Prince Takamoto Trophy English Oratorical Contest for many years, and previously taught at Keio, Chuo, Kanazawa, Yamagata universities. She holds a bachelor degree from the University of Tokyo. Next, Mr. Arthur Mitchell. Mr. Mitchell was born in Los Angeles, California, and came to Japan as an exchange student in 1967 when he studied the Japanese language and politics. As a young man, he traveled to many countries with his family, but decided to focus on Japan due to the beauty of its culture, the complexity of its social arrangement, and the dexterity in its people. Now, 58 years later, he lives with his wife in Tokyo and serves as an outsider director to several leading Japanese companies, is a lawyer specializing in finance and AI, and an investor in promising companies. Lastly, Mr. Hiroatsu Fujisawa. Mr. Fujisawa is a president at IIBC since July 2024. He has work experience with a Japanese trading firm and American energy company. He had stationed in the United States and Singapore for 20 years. He holds a Bachelor of Law degree from the University of Tokyo. Next, let me explain the rules of this contest. All speakers will have 8 minutes to deliver their speeches. The remaining time is displayed on the monitor, and the countdown begins. When the remaining time reaches 30 seconds, the bell rings once. When 8 minutes have elapsed, the bell rings twice. At the ring of the second bell, the speaker has to stop speaking. Otherwise, 1 rank will be reduced in the judging process as a penalty. After each speech, there will be a question and answer session. The questioners, Dr. Sasayama and Dr. Jacobson, will ask questions within 4 minutes each, for a total of 8 minutes. We will display the remaining time on the monitor during the session as well. But speakers can finish answering the last question from each questioner, even if they run out of time during the last question or answer of that question. Now, we would like to introduce the prizes for this contest. All finalists will be awarded the complimentary opportunity to take the TOEIC listening and reading test and TOEIC speaking and writing tests. The first, second, and third prize winner will be awarded a trophy and a certificate. Also, they will receive a personal computer as a special prize. And the IIBC Cup will go to the first prize winner. Now, it is time for us to welcome the first speaker. Nanako Motomura from RIKKYO University will deliver the speech under the title of A Journey into the Hidden World of Kawaii. A Journey into the Hidden World of Kawaii. Nanako Motomura, please come up to the center of the stage.
First of all, I'd like to thank the Master of Ceremony and the honorable judges. Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to present about A Journey into the Hidden World of Kawaii. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard Flight K2026. My name is Nanako, and I'll be your guide on this journey. Before we take off, I'd like to ask you one simple question. What does Kawaii really cost? Our destination is the world where Kawaii is made. Soft, sweet, heart-melting things we all know and love. Please fasten your seatbelts. We'll begin a trip under pastel skies, but the scenery may darken as we go. We've now arrived at the first destination, the land of pure Kawaii. Here,
everything feels like a dream. The scent of cotton candy in the air, fluffy socks, pastel phone cases, glittering accessories, harmless, comforting, simply adorable. It's easy to fall in love with this phrase. But don't get too comfortable. Next, we head toward where kawaii is really born, the part most people never see. Welcome to the overproduction dessert, where kawaii is mass-produced. The cotton candy scent disappears, replaced by the chemical smell of dyes. Every grain of sand represents a trend that came and went on the brink of an eye. The demand for cheap and cute sweeps through factories like a thunderstorm. Long working hours, low wages, often below minimum wage, young women in harsh conditions, and the growing burden on our environment. But not every... Sorry. Let's take a breath. What I'm going to say from now isn't a metaphor. It's happening on the same planet we live on. Did you know the Atacama Desert in Chile is called the world's clothing graveyard? Every year, enormous amounts of used clothing arrive at South America's largest import hub, Iquique. But about 39,000 tons have no destination and are dumped illegally in the desert. Most discarded clothes contain plastic fibers like polyester. They never decompose. If burned, they release toxic and greenhouse gases, harming local communities and fragile ecosystems. This is not one isolated story. Similar structures exist across the global fashion industry. Closer to us, in Guangdong, China, lies what many call the Shein village, filled with factories powering the world's biggest fast fashion platform. Reports describe underpaid workers, harsh conditions, and in some cases, even child labor. Fast fashion feels fun, cheap, and convenient, but low prices always mean someone, somewhere, pays the cost. But not every corner of this world is dark. More companies and communities are trying to reinvent what kawaii can mean. Brands like Uniqlo now run large-scale reuse, repair, recycling programs, collecting unworn clothes and giving them new life as products or humanitarian aid. Across Japan, new materials are being made from textile waste, and more factories that pay fair wages are gaining support. In Europe, the idea of extended producer responsibility, EPR, making companies responsible from production to disposal, is slowly expanding. None of these solutions are perfect, but they show us something important. Sustainability and kawaii can coexist. In fact, they suggest something even more hopeful. Maybe cute can also mean kind. Before we prepare to land, I have a question for you. What is kawaii? Until now, kawaii meant small, sweet, soft, innocent. But true kawaii isn't just about softness on the surface. Maybe, perhaps, kawaii can be kind to the planet, respect to the people who make it, made to last longer than a pretty moment on TikTok. Kawaii that doesn't pollute rivers. Kawaii that doesn't harm anyone. Kawaii that understands its own impact. Maybe that is a new or steady kawaii over time. As someone who grew up surrounded by Kawaii, I don't want to give it up. I want to make it better. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not preparing for our final descent. Based on everything we've seen, light and dark, problems and possibilities, there's no runway waiting for us. That's why we must build our own landing place. So we must build our own landing place. Not perfection, not guilt, just small conscious choices. Choosing quality over quantity. Supporting brands that value the people who made the product. Asking how an item is made, not just how cute it looks. Every purchase is a message, and every small choice is a single brick. And brick by brick, we can build the runway we need. The world doesn't need us to abandon Kawaii. It simply needs us to evolve it toward a Kawaii that shines not only on the outside, but from the inside as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not preparing for our final descent. I hope this journey has brought you somewhere new.
Thank you so much, Nanako Motomura. Then we will have a question and answer session. Dr. Sasayama, please begin.
All right, thank you very much, Nanako, for your thought-provoking speech. I also appreciated your creative delivery. Good job on that.
Thank you.
All right, so let me ask you a few questions.
Yes.
Listening to your speech, I got the impression that the word kawaii is important for you.
Yes.
So can you tell us why you chose that word kawaii in your speech and what message you were trying to convey?
Okay, so I think the word kawaii deeply stimulates consumer behavior, and the word kawaii is really popular in these days. Like kawaii things like bonbon drop stickers or some cute products is really famous. And as a 90-year-old college student, part of Z generation, I have many opportunity to use smartphone and watch YouTube videos. And then kawaii things is common in that case. So I chose kawaii. And I chose kawaii words because I really like kawaii things. So I want to be responsible for that. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. So my next question. How did you become interested in this topic? So did you have any sort of defining moments when you realized buying, cute, cheap things is actually problematic or can be problematic?
So you asked like, what is my action toward new definition of kawaii?
Did you have what kind of experience did you have to make you feel, that buying cheap, cute things is problematic?
Thank you. For me, I am a college student. I don't have much money because I can only do part-time jobs. So I always attracted to cheap products like Shein. But understanding the problems behind it, I have to know the problems, like young women in harsh conditions. Like for me, I'm young woman, so I think we cannot overlook the problems. Yeah, that's why.
Thank you. Let's see. So things aren't always straightforward, right? So can you identify some of the potential negative consequences of your suggestion?
So, negative suggestion of kawaii.
One of your suggestions was, don't always buy cheap things, right? Mm-hmm. So, choosing quality over quantity is a good idea. Mm-hmm. But can you think of any sort of negative consequences of that?
Okay. Maybe I think like the problems, like I thought solution to that is Uniqlo. But I think like just placing recycling box in store is a little bit problem because it reflects like mass production and mass consumption. So I think big companies should make clothes that may last longer. Yeah, and that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sasayama. Then, Dr. Jacobson, please.
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you for your speech. You had some obstacles, but you dealt with them very gracefully, so well done there. The first question I have is that fast fashion in the United States, at least, is often seen as a good thing for low-income consumers and young people. And sometimes in the United States, it gets an attitude that if you fight against it, it's really only for the elites or for the wealthy. How can you make sustainability more accessible to everyone instead of just being something for the elites?
Okay, so so can you elaborate your opinion?
So, for example, fast fashion is cheap, as you said. It tends to attract people who may not have as much money. And if you have more sustainable ways, it tends to be a little more expensive. How do you keep that from being something that's only for the wealthy?
Okay, so I know like the product eco-friendly to planet is a little bit expensive, and it is really hard. It is a burden to young people who don't have money. So the best solution is to make companies like that make clothes that last longer and reasonable. But but there's no company now like that now. So I think like it is the best problem that I have to think. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Next question. I was really attracted in your speech to this part about extended producer responsibility. And at one point you said, none of these solutions are perfect. So I just was wondering, what are some of the drawbacks that you see of requiring EPR?
Okay, so as I said in the question session, I think like just placing recycling box is a little bit problem because that if we feel that clothes we don't need that clothes, we place the recycling box, and that is not the solution. So and also EPL is not common. It's not common now or now. So maybe because the cheap fast fashion is really viral in young generations. So I think like the popularity of fast fashion is really high these days. So that is the drawbacks of EPL.
Thank you. And one last question. You mentioned various things that companies are doing, like Uniqlo or Zara or Shein or something like that. What do you think of these efforts? Which ones work well?
Which ones work well? The Shein or?
Among all of the companies who maybe are interested in doing something about this issue, who's doing a good job of addressing these concerns?
I think Shein is not good in all aspects because the price of the product is cheap and it's really kind to the young people, right? So there is some pros and cons in every stores, but I think like Uniqlo is the best solution because maybe there is the only company that trying to reinvent the meaning of kawaii. So I think other companies should do like that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Again, thank you, Dr. Sasayama, Dr. Jacobson, and Nanako Motomura. Nanako Motomura, please return to your seat. Please give the judges a few minutes to mark their judging sheets. Now, let me introduce the second speaker. Yusa Aoki from Hosei University will deliver the speech under the title of Bento or Bomb. Bento or Bomb. Yusa Aoki, please come up to the center of the stage.
Thank you, the Masters of Ceremonies, distinguished judges, and all organizers. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. Imagine opening your lunchbox and finding a ticking time bomb. Your favorite curry, that crispy fried chicken, the lunchbox you open with a smile. Food is meant to bring joy, comfort, and love. Yet, beneath its delicious appearance, every meal hides a secret question. A bomb is threatening because it can hurt people and you never know when it will explode. Food poisoning is the same. It hides in ordinary food, invisible until it strikes. So, every lunchbox asks us the same question: bento or bomb? This invisible assassin has a name: food poisoning, and in Japan, it is not rare. According to the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare, over 1,000 cases of food poisoning are reported every year, affecting over 20,000 people. While the number spikes during hot and humid months, food poisoning does not disappear when the air cools. Food poisoning does not only come from homemade bentos. Even ready-made meals, ration dishes, or take-out food could be the one if handled or stored in the wrong way. Whether you cook, buy, or eat out, none of us are completely safe from this invisible enemy. Our enemies have difficult names: Campylobacter, hiding in raw chicken; Staphylococcus aureus, from our hands; Clostridium perfringens, that multiply silently in cooked dishes left at room temperature. They march like invisible army across our food. And when they strike, they don't just cause discomfort. They shatter normal life. Stomach pain, diarrhea, vomiting, and fever. For children, the elderly, for even healthy adults, hospitalization, or in rare cases, even death can follow. Back in 2011, a tragedy in Japan reminded us of deadly truth. At a barbecue chain restaurant, a raw beef dish called yukke, contaminated with bacteria, led to the death of 5 people, all because of poor hygiene management. People died not by fate, but by preventable mistakes. I too have faced this enemy. When I was a high school student, I probably packed my own lunch: rice bowls, cherry tomatoes, and crisp lettuce. It looked perfect, it smelled delicious, and it seemed safe. But within hours after having it, stabbing stomach pain and relentless nausea brought me to the hospital. Test reveals that my lunchbox, which would look harmless, was the source of attack. That day, my lunchbox gave me a cruel answer. It was not bento. It was a bomb. At the time, I didn't understand how it had happened. Later, I learned that shaping rice bowl with hot rice and unwashed utensil had created the perfect breeding grounds for Staphylococcus aureus. But the food looked normal. No warning signs, just a silent weapon waiting to strike. Have you ever heard of 3 golden rules for preventing food poisoning? They are: don't let bacteria get on the food, don't let them multiply, and kill them when you can. From these rules and from my own painful lesson, I arm myself with 5 simple weapons to disarm the bomb in my lunchbox. Weapon 1, the clean blade. Wash every utensil thoroughly before and after cutting raw meat. Better yet, use separate bowls for meat and vegetables. Even a drop of chicken juice can ignite disasters. Weapon 2, the shielded hand. Wash your hand with soap for at least 20 seconds before cooking. Or use gloves when handling food. Weapon 3, the fire. Use heat wisely. Cook chicken or eggs until the center reaches 75 degrees for at least 1 minute. A kitchen thermometer can be your best ally. Weapon 4, the cold wind. Let food cool completely before setting the lid. Steam trapped inside becomes moisture, and the moisture becomes an ally to germs. Weapon 5, ice. Keep your lunchbox below 10 degrees with ice bags. According to Japan's hygiene guidelines, most food poisoning bacteria multiply between 20 degrees and 50 degrees, a range known as danger zone. Keep your lunchbox below that line stops the bomb from ticking. Place them directly on top of the box for the maximum effect. These are not complicated moves, but they are weapons. And since the day I picked them up, I've carried them into my bottle every single morning. Since then, my bento has never turned into a bomb again. From today, I hope you also carry these weapons with you in your life. Because with them, your lunch will never turn into a bomb. Instead, it will always be what it should be. Food that brings joy, comfort, and love. So, when you prepare or buy your lunch, rain or shine, summer or winter, remember the choice in your hands. Bento or bomb. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yusa Aoki. Then we will have a question and answer session. Dr. Sasayama, please begin.
All right, thank you, Yusa. I thought your speech was very informative, and I learned a lot from it. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so let me ask you a few questions. So the 5 weapons that you introduced seem very useful when we cook for ourselves. Are there any, sort of advice that you have, things we have to be careful of when we eat out at a restaurant?
Thank you. For when you eat out at a restaurant, I really recommend you to choose a restaurant which is very clean, like visible hygiene is very well done, because sometimes like visible hygiene management is like led to the all hygiene management. Like we cannot see back rooms of this restaurant, but if they keep the very clean restaurant, like clean seats, that means they're doing hygiene management well. So that means they're doing background hygiene management as well.
Thank you. So next question. Imagine you're invited to a potluck party where everybody brings their food, right? So you prepare your food very carefully, but you don't know how other people have prepared their food. What would you do in that situation?
For me, I think it's kind of awkward, but I would avoid eating some high-risk food, such as non-heated one. Like if it's heated, it's kind of like lower risk than like roast beef or like those things. So I would avoid eating like some non-heated one.
All right, thank you. Let's see. So my third question would be, so in Japan, we eat a lot of raw things, right? So sashimi, yuke, or raw chicken, which is not imaginable in the US, for example. So why do you think that is? Do you think it's cultural, or do you think there's any, scientific or maybe hygienic reasons for that?
You mean like eating those raw foods are like cultural things or not? I think it's sometimes it's like cultural, like eating sashimi or something like from like very past in Japan. But I think it's like traditional, but it triggers a problem. So that's why we're having like food poisoning people who get like food poisoning. So like I think we really have to be careful. Like individual management, like hygiene management is like so important.
All right, thank you. That's it from me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Sasayama. Then, Dr. Jacobson, please.
Okay, thank you very much for your speech. I wanted to especially praise your gestures and facial expressions, which I really think added a lot of life and depth to your words. First question, after your own experience with food poisoning, which habit was the hardest for you to change?
The hardest part was keeping my lunchbox below the very safe line, because like my 5 weapons are kind of easy for me, because that is like getting normal when I cook. So, but like keeping my lunchbox below 10 degrees are like kind of difficult, because I have to use like some thermometer, like some lunchbox that keeps my food very well. But it was kind of hard to find very expensive lunchbox.
Okay, great, thank you. As for one of the central themes of your speech, fear can be a powerful persuasive tool, but it can also lead to exaggeration. How did you decide to make your bomb imagery, and how strong did you want to make it without causing unnecessary panic?
I think it's not like a exaggeration. It's a like emphasis of the problem. So I chose this topic because I really want everyone to. I really want people to be like get like very as like awareness, like individual awareness is like very important. So if people get like food poisoning, after that they really be careful. But if they don't get like food poisoning, they don't really think it's like a big problem or like it's not that danger. So I really wanted everyone to feel it's very danger, and the prevention is like very important. So I chose this topic.
Great, thank you. Next one. Food safety obviously is an individual concern, but it also depends on corporate and governmental regulation. Where do you think responsibility should lie between people, businesses, public authorities?
For people, individual, our like management is very important, and for business, in Japan, like HACCP system is mandatory from 2021. So every restaurants are like doing HACCP management, but if they're doing HACCP management, the food poisoning still occur. So the government have to check like those restaurants carefully, and also like HACCP organization. So the government have to check the organization of HACCP, and so HACCP will be more strict, and so that like every restaurant will be like very more careful about the food poisoning.
Great. I guess last one, a quick one. You make the speech in Japan, which actually has some of the best food safety practices in the world. What do you think is worth praise about the way Japan handles food safety?
In Japan, I think like raw meat like yuke or like torisashi or like those kind of raw foods are like very the worst things. It's really good, but like it really triggers the food poisoning, so it's the worst one.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Jacobson. Again, thank you so much, Dr. Sasayama, Dr. Jacobson, and Yusa Aoki. Yusa Aoki, please return to your seat. Please give the judges a few minutes to mark their judging sheets. Next, let me introduce the third speaker. Tomoka Yamada from Hiroshima Institute of Technology will deliver the speech under the title of The Skills of a Photographer. The Skills of a Photographer. Tomoka Yamada, please come up to the center of the stage.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson, distinguished judges, ladies and gentlemen. All right, everyone, look at the camera. Ready? 3, 2, 1, smile! When I was a freshman, I worked at the photo studio. I took countless family portraits and candid shots at wedding banquets. I enjoyed helping people capture their happiest moments. As I fiddled with the camera, I came to a realization. Being a good photographer takes more than just owning a camera. You need the right distance and the right focus. You need the skills to see things from the right angle, in the right light, so that even ordinary or unpleasant scenes can be made to shine. That realization takes me back to my high school years, when I faced the biggest struggle of my life. And it was that insight that helped me rise again and stand tall after that difficult time. Let me share my little story. At the end of high school, I failed my university entrance exam. I couldn't accept it because I naively believed that effort was bound to bear fruit if I truly applied myself. Seeing my friends succeed only convinced me further that I no longer had what it takes. Failures and setbacks are part of being alive. If it occurs at your moment of truth, whether in job hunting, career advancement, financial decisions, or personal relationships, it can feel like the end of the world. Even if you have managed to avoid pitfalls, who knows? Your streak of good fortunes might come to an end tomorrow. Today, setbacks can be devastating for young people. They're said to be weak when hit, meaning too sensitive or fragile when facing difficulties. A survey by JMA Management Center Incorporated reported that about 65% of young people have poor stress resilience, being more impacted by failures than you might think. Today's environment makes this fragility matter even more. Social media fills our daily lives, constantly surrounding us with other people's happiness, their meals, trips, and achievements. People post only the bright side to boost their self-esteem. Surrounded by this kind of poisonous positivity, we end up comparing ourselves and feeling inferior. A University of Michigan study found that the more often people used Facebook, the worse they felt, afterward. We now live in a world where it feels like we can't afford to fail. Prospect theory suggests that we feel the pain of a loss about twice as strongly as the joy of a gain. This means that without the right mindset, we can easily get stuck in despair. For me, a turning point came during a 1-month study abroad program in the US. There, I met another student who had also failed the university entrance exam. Realizing we were in the same shoes, we talked for hours and hours about our situations. And you know what? I started to feel better. What struck me most during the program was my homestay, especially my host sister. Like many American students, she studied, yes, but she also poured herself into sports, cooking, and friendships. She saw school as just one part of life, not the whole picture. That new perspective gave me the courage to stop isolating myself, start studying again, and approach my education with a renewed sense of purpose. This experience reminded me that during my time at the photo studio, I had gained a new lens through which to view my failure. It was through this lens that I began to understand failure in a new way. A good photographer knows the importance of distance. If the camera is too close, the picture is distorted. Failure works the same way. When it's too fresh, it feels overwhelming. I was fortunate to have an almost timeless conversation with that fellow participant, which gave me some emotional distance from my failure. There are many kinds of distance. With time, for example, older people often look back on their failures and say, "That was meant to be." That's time distance. There can also be spatial or social distance. In the end, taking the right distance is about choosing where we look at the subject from. A photographer also needs the skills to capture the subject well. Choosing the right angle, adjusting the focus, and lighting can make a picture stand out, even look beautiful. These skills are, in essence, about how we look at the subject. Similarly, when we face setbacks, we need to frame them carefully to find the right angle, light, and focus. My host sister helped me do just that. She showed me which parts of my life to focus on and highlight. In this case, non-academic experiences. And from what angle to view my failure. Not as a defining flaw, but as just one part of a larger picture. A photographer adds their personal touch. Likewise, our personal touch lies in how we describe what happened, through language. I stopped calling it a dead end and began calling it a turning point. A simple shift in words, but it made the failure look different. To develop this ability, we need to interact with others and read good books to discover new ways of giving meaning to our past. So, ladies and gentlemen, be the photographer of your own life. With the right distance and the right framing, you can redefine any experience in a meaningful way. And if you can do that, even failure can become a masterpiece. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tomoka Yamada. Then we will have a question and answer session. Dr. Sasayama, please begin.
All right, so thank you, Tomoka, for your very inspiring speech. You're ready for some questions?
Yes.
All right. So for you, having someone who went through a similar experience helped you keep some distance from your own experience, yeah? So how else do you think we can keep emotional distance from what you're calling failure?
For me, I was fortunate. Fortunately, I met another student who had also had a university exam. But if you have no
if you don't have friends or people around you, you can rely on the social support system, like counseling. If you feel stuck and you cannot tell anyone or can talk anyone close to you, you should rely on them. And I believe they have a clever idea up their sleeve.
All right, thank you. So my next question is, in many ways, it's true that students in the US approach school education very differently from students in Japan. Why do you think that might be?
So is the American students are different to Japanese students?
Right, so in your speech, you said your host sister approached, she sees school education very differently from how you saw it originally. Yeah. So can you explain a little bit?
Yes, of course. So in Japan, I have some friends, but actually, Japanese people don't want to bother others. So sometimes we often just smile and pretend to be okay, so that you don't cause any problems for others. So I didn't feel like I could open up to anyone in Japan. But in the US, there is a culture. There is a culture of sharing your experiences and trying to build deeper relationships by telling personal stories. So talking with my host family helped me gain many new perspectives, and that also helped me open up my mind.
Thank you. So like in your case, we often learn a lot from failures. Do you think failure is necessary for success?
For success, I think so. If you face failure and if you think about and look back on your failure, and if you try to overcome and get more new perspectives, that would help you move forward again, and you will see the next goal, and your life will be more happily and successfully.
All right, thank you. That's all from me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Sasayama. Then, Dr. Jacobson, please.
Thank you for your speech. This topic of failure and of recovery is something that everyone in this room has felt, and I appreciate your honesty to tackle the issue head on. Great. Also wanted to acknowledge you for your enthusiasm and energy at the beginning. Your opening was quite effective, I think, and it connected to the rest of your talk. My first question is, as a young person in Japan, you have so many possibilities for a part-time job. Can you take us through the process by which you chose a photo studio?
Well, I always like taking photos, and I have been taking photos with a digital camera since I was a child. So back in high school student, I've always wanted to work at photo studio. So I always looked up, and I found it, and I applied for that.
Have you continued photography as a hobby or as something that you're interested in?
Yes, my hobby is taking picture, of course.
Great.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. In the first part of your speech, you cite a lot of statistics about resilience among young people, and you mentioned social media. Australia recently banned the use of social media for young people 16 and under. What do you think of that as a solution to build resilience?
I think the your Australians organization is very good for young people because they have poor stress resilience, and yes, they don't know how to use them. So yeah, I think it's a very good idea, and every country, even in Japan, we should get in we should organize some situations, some solutions like that.
Great. Somewhere in your speech, you talked about meeting new people and reading great books in order to get a sense of the different ways to view your past. If you had a magic time machine, who would you want to talk to, either living or dead, to get a new perspective on your past?
I would like to use time machine, and I want to go Showa era, because I believe today because people are very cautious about harassment, and many adults hesitate to discipline young people strictly. So, but in Showa era, I heard from a lot of older people that they experience so terrible and hard things. So I would see in my eyes those situations, and I want to know how they overcome and reinterpret those events, those experiences.
Do you think life is just too easy for young people now, that they don't have to go through some of those challenges?
I don't believe that, because I believe that opportunities for young people to build mental resilience is very less than Showa era. So we have to take on a lot of challenges and build our mental resilience.
Great, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Jacobson. Again, thank you so much, Dr. Sasayama, Dr. Jacobson, and Tomoka Yamada. Tomoka Yamada, please return to your seat. Please give the judges a few minutes to mark their judging sheets. Next, let me introduce the fourth speaker. Davi Ernest Pradipta from Toyohashi University of Technology will deliver the speech under the title of The Plastics Lie. The Plastics Lie. Davi Ernest Pradipta, please come up to the center of the stage.
Thank you to the Master of Ceremony, esteemed judges, honored organizers, and fellow audience. In 1942, just weeks after the attack on Pearl Harbor, a chemical economist named William Haynes made a stunning prediction. He wagered that a new obscure substance called plastic would have more effect on the life of their great-grandchildren than Hitler or Mussolini. In hindsight, he was severely underselling it. At that moment in time, plastic was just an excuse by petrochemical manufacturers to convert the byproducts of coal and petroleum into anything remotely useful to the military. Even in the post-war economic boom of the mid-1950s, society didn't find enough use for all the plastics they produce. So, what do? Well, if your product can't be the solution, be the problem. Their mission? Plasticize everything. It clearly worked out for them. Plastics are in everything now. It's in our blood, it's in our water, it's in our air, it's in our ocean. Surely none of these are any good, natural, or even necessary. Critics even rang the alarm as early as the 1970s. So, what do the petrochemical and bottling companies do in response? Shift the blame. They funded one of the most famous ad campaigns in history, The Crying Indian. It showed a Native American man weeping at the sight of litter, delivering a simple, guilt-inducing message. people start pollution. People can stop it. But here is the ultimate twisted irony of that message from the, let me check my notes real quick because I still cannot believe this. So the industry funded Keep America Beautiful. The man behind that ad isn't even Native American. He was an Italian actor from Louisiana. The messenger was a fake. And so was the message. We literally swallowed the poison, and we are trying to hold to a dear life, trying to sell a life. They, the petrochemical industry, sold us the poison, so they will know the first thing about the cure. Enter scene, plastic recycling. The marketing was simple. Don't dump it, don't burn it, just recycle it. But here's the thing about poison peddlers. They really aren't in the business of selling genuine medicine, are they? They left out one teensy tiny detail. It has never worked. It will never be possible to efficiently recycle plastics. The logistics, the math, the economics, they just are not there. Not when it's always cheaper to create new plastics or new trash than to try and resurrect old plastic. Not when that recycled plastics contains the very poison like flame retardants that we're trying to get rid of. Even if plastic recycling is safe, which it isn't, and even if plastic recycling can somehow be profitable, which also isn't, the problem comes from the top. Overproduction. Given the limited amount of uses one can get from recycled plastics, doing so only guarantees the creation of more waste. They know this. They're not good keepers of our earth by any stretch of the imagination. But I let them have this. They know one thing or two about hiding the problem from our very eyes. Recycling is their cloak, and hiding is their dagger. For decades, the dagger was pointed at China. But after they banned plastic waste imports in 2018, these producers went into a mad dash for a substitute. One of those substitutes was my homeland, Indonesia. For a country with more than 250 million people, we have less landfills than we do representatives. One for at least 600,000 citizens. 600,000. And that is the best case scenario for those plastic waste. The Citarum River, the world's most polluted river, is currently choking on a horrifying sludge of fecal matter and plastic waste, 5,000 times above the legal limit. And what about plastics waste they can't import to countries in the global south? Well, how do you like billowing contaminated white smoke? Because that is what we are doing right here in Japan. Just 2 kilometers from my university, I can look up that sky, that white sky, and see that white smoke contaminate our scared sky. It is truly horrifying. The industry politely calls it thermal recycling, but let's be honest, burning trash for a minuscule amount of electricity is not recycling. It is how two-thirds of our plastic waste is simply set on fire and hidden from sight. So, what do we do about this? Number one, don't drink the Kool-Aid. This is not our fault. This guilt is not yours to carry. It belongs to the corporation that produced and pushed plastic waste in the first place. Number two, demand accountability. Recycling is a distraction. The real solution is crippling overproduction at the source. We need laws that make them pay. We need to make sure that making this waste is a burden from them, not a profit. Number three, vote with your wallets. Don't think of recycling as an equal part of the chasing arrows. Think of it as the absolute last resort. Reduce, reuse, then and only then, if you must, recycle. And remember this advice. When in doubt, throw it out. Don't contaminate the system. Don't help them with their grief. Let's be clear. This is not our fault. We have been choked with poison in the air we breathe, in the water we drink, in the food we eat. For so long, they've told us to accept it, to ignore it, to live with it. They even blamed us for it. But I say no more to that. No more. We are done playing the game. We are done being the pawns in the profit-driven machine. Every bottle they push, every plastic they try to hand to us, it is not our fault. It is theirs. And it is time they pay. Time I reclaim our lands, our rivers, our oceans, our very lives. We're not powerless. We're not silent. We're not helpless. Every choice we make matters. Every voice raised matters. Every refusal to accept their ways matters. We're not victims. We're guardians. Protectors of what is still alive and stewards of what can save. The next generation will judge us, not for the mess we inherited, but for the legacy we chose to leave behind. And let it not be a world choked with corporate plastic. Let it be a world where life thrives. The power is ours. The time is now, and we will not fail. Thank you.
Thank you, Devi Ernest Pradipta. Then we will have a question and answer session. Dr. Sasayama, please begin.
So thank you, Devi, for your very thought-provoking speech. Let me ask you a few questions. So in your speech, you emphasized that we, the consumers, don't necessarily have to feel guilty about the overwhelming amount of plastic waste, right? But there must be something we can do. What are some tangible things we can do today to address, the problem that you raised in your speech?
Thank you for the question. The biggest thing that we can do as a consumer is move the place where we spend our willpower. As consumers, we all have a limited amount of willpower. We cannot possibly be expected to care about every little social issue. In regards to plastics waste, what I would recommend is instead of spending that willpower on the post-purchase waste, that is, for example, worrying about which bin does this trash go to, or washing every bento box, you still do that. But the main point is that you spend that willpower on the pre-purchase waste. Is that when you see something at the grocery store with an overly packaged fruit, for example, where every single banana has their own plastic packaging, skip that. If you see a bottled water, but you can drink from the tap, do that instead. That's how we as a consumer can handle it.
Okay, great, thank you. So from this April, Tokyo will actually begin collecting plastic products as recyclable plastic resources. And of course, they're calling it environmentally friendly. What is your take on their new initiative?
It is a very interesting initiative, and I really like the thrust of that movement. But I am also have a little bit of preservation given the history of Japan. Japan boasts that they have about an 80% recycling rate, but 2/3 of that is thermal recycling, as I mentioned earlier, where the plastics are simply set on fire for electricity. I don't think that necessarily counts as the sort of ideal recycling. I understand because Japan has limitation of land space. We don't have space to build a lot of landfills in Japan. But I think that also brings us to the main point is that instead of worrying about how we could make recycling better, the better solution is to cripple overproduction as the source, as I mentioned earlier. So it is a good initiative, but I am more worried about what step comes before that.
Thank you. So let's talk about that then. In your opinion, who should lead the change and take proactive actions to stop overproduction of plastic?
I believe in the power of the snowball. It starts from the individual. So, for example, one person, me, not buying a bag of party Kit Kats because it has 20 different Kit Kats in 20 different packaging. Myself doing that alone, honestly, does not matter. Myself doing that alone does not matter. It moves up to the social. We encourage the friends we know, the parents and the family to also do that. And then it moves up to the regional, to the people around us, to the people that live in our situation. And then it moves to the national, where that loss can start to affect hundreds of millions of people, like in Japan, for example. And then it moves to the international stages through the UN, For example, in the UN, we are currently discussing the Global Plastics Treaty. Unfortunately, it has not been progressing in the way that I wanted to necessarily, but it is a good start. So that is how I would do that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sasayama. Then, Dr. Jacobson, please.
Thank you very much for your speech. I wanted to compliment you on a very nice, measured pace that gave your words a lot of authority and seriousness. I wanted to ask a little bit about your background. I assume you were in Indonesia in 2018.
Yes.
Did you notice a change with when you mentioned China then cut off imports, and then you said it shifted to the global south? Did you notice a change right away, say in 2019 or afterwards?
Yes. I lived in Bali before I moved to Japan. I lived in Bali for about 10 years. One day, I'm not exactly sure, but I think it was about mid-2019. I was walking off the streets of Kuta Beach, which is a very popular tourist destination in Bali. And I saw a piece of plastic that fell from a truck that was passing by me. And that truck, I saw the plastic coming down, and I picked it with my hand. And it's a label I don't know. It's not even in a script that I don't know. It's not even written in alphabet. And I thought, why is that here? It's not even English or, I don't know, Chinese, because I would still know if it's a Chinese letter. And I don't even know what that was. And then I moved to Japan. I spent 2 weeks because I came in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. I was in lockdown, so the only food I have was Family Mart from a hotel, the Hotel Family Mart. I worry every time about whether am I throwing my bins correctly, am I throwing the bento boxes correctly. And then after that lockdown, I moved to Tokyo. The streets were really clean. I was really surprised because the streets are really clean. People sort out their bins correctly. But then I noticed once I moved to Toyohashi about where people, when the concept of thermal recycling really came to me the first time. I saw that white smoke coming from the recycling facility near my university, and I was really excited by that. That's motivation. It's a three-step motivation.
Great. Thank you so much. My second question is somewhat similar to Dr. Sasayama's question, but I think it's really important, so I wanted to follow up. Our first and second speakers today had a similar theme of something going wrong with externalities. We produce something and it causes a negative impact. But you have sort of approached it differently. Your focus is on corporations, where theirs is on the individuals. Tell me a little bit more about where the balance lies, because could one argue all phases are important, individuals, companies, governments?
Yes, I especially appreciate the first speaker, which I feel talks in a lot of similar ways, a lot of similarity to the topic I bring today. Where we fundamentally diverge in our approach is that I feel because in the world of capitalism that we live in now, the really important levers of movement come from the corporations first, and then the government second, as the buffer between corporations and the population. If we let the corporations do as they please, in that they just do whatever they make to improve their bottom line the most, then there's going to be no protection for the shared environment we live in, the shared world we live in. The role in that is that from the power of us, from the other people, we push the government to act as our representatives in the capitalism world, and then to be a counterforce necessarily against the corporations, to make sure that the plastic they use in their packaging, for example, is priced in through extended producer responsibility laws, as the first speaker also mentioned.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Thank you, Dr. Jacobson. Again, thank you so much, Dr. Sasayama, Dr. Jacobson, and Davi Ernest Pradipta. Davi Ernest Pradipta, please return to your seat. Please give the judges a few minutes to mark their judging sheets.
Ladies and gentlemen, from here on, I, Satsuki Maeda, will serve as the master of ceremonies. Now, it is time for us to welcome the fifth speaker. Saaya Kozeni, from Kobe City University of Foreign Studies, will deliver the speech under the title of The Knitted Bouquet. the knitted bouquet. Saaya Kozeni, please come up to the center of the stage.
Thank you, Master of Ceremony, organizers, honorable judges, and all the audiences. Good afternoon. Thank you. Today, I'd like to talk about something very personal. It is a challenge that many of us might face, both directly or indirectly. It is about dementia. But more importantly, it is about love and how love must change when memory fades. I stand here today not as an expert, but as a granddaughter. My grandmother was my favorite person, and she always will be in the world. When I was a child, she was always the one who held my hand. She was always sharp, she was strong, and she was always there. But then, the changes began. It started with small things. A forgotten key? A misplaced name. At first, we laughed it off. We thought it was just an age. But then, the laughter stopped. She started asking the same questions again and again. What time is it? 2 minutes later, what time is it? I was scared and I was confused. When the doctor finally said a word, dementia, I felt helpless and I didn't know what to do. She began to lose her skills. She couldn't fill the bath. The water would overflow. My family got frustrated. The house, once full of warmth and happiness, suddenly changed into full of tension. I still remember one day very clearly. It still hurts to think about it. It was the day that we decided she should stop driving. The air in the living room was very heavy. We sat her down and said, "Grandma, you can't drive anymore. It's too dangerous." At first, we thought we were being logical here. At first, we thought we were doing the right thing. But logic didn't work here. She stared at me, with her hands trembling, with tears streaming down her face, and cried out, "Did you steal my car?" That moment broke my heart. But at the same time, it taught me a life-changing lesson. We were using logic to manage her emotions, but logic didn't work here. So what could have been done? Today, I want to emphasize 3 steps that I made to rebuild our bridge to her. First, stop scolding and start understanding. The first change might be the hardest. Stop getting angry. When she failed to cook rice, my natural reaction used to be, "Grandma, that's wrong. What are you doing?" I was frustrated because I was scared. I was mourning the woman who she used to be. But I saw something very terrifying. When we constantly say, "You can't," or "Don't do that," they don't hear the facts. They hear failure. They internalize our frustrations. They got pessimistic. They got sad, and they feel like they are a useless burden. When she asked me, "Did you steal my car?" she wasn't accusing me of a crime. She was expressing her fear. So, I learned a power of pause. When I got frustrated, I swallowed my frustrations, took a deep breath, and I realized her memory might be broken, but her feelings are completely intact, and we must stop negative words that push her into darkness. Second, create a shared goal together. Caregiving often feels like a battle of control. Sit here, eat this, take your pills. It's exhausting for both sides. And I wanted to change that dynamic. So I asked her a special favor. I always know she loved knitting, so for my graduation ceremony, I asked her a special favor for knitting some flower bouquet. I got some colorful yarns and gave it to her and said, "Glamour, please make a flower bouquet out of these. I want to hold that in my graduation ceremony with the certificate so that I can give the pictures and you can see it." Suddenly, she got a mission. She wasn't a patient anymore. She was an artist. It was obviously hard for her at first. Her hands were slower than before, and she dropped some stitches, but she kept going. Giving them a goal, even if it's a small thing, reminds them that they are still needed in the world by people who care about them. Third, it is okay not to be okay. Lastly, but perhaps the most importantly, I want to speak up to the families. You cannot pour from an empty cup. For a long time, I have been trying to figure out everything by myself. I thought I had to be strong for everybody in the family. But it was wrong. It wasn't sustainable. I got easily grumpy. I was unwell and I was feeling always overwhelmed. And it didn't save anybody in the family too. So I took a brave action. I started going to therapy. Sitting there in the quiet room, talking in front of the professionals and crying freely wasn't a betrayal to anybody. It saved me to process my feelings. It saved me to give the tools to be patient and kind again. Dementia is a crucial disease that takes away skills, that takes away memories, but it cannot take away our souls. My grandmother told me, even when the memory fades, our hearts still remain. So, for everybody, we can change how we respond. Start understanding their fear and stop scolding. Start create a shared goal that give them a purpose. Start be brave enough to be able to ask for help when you need it. I see myself having full of knitted flowers in my graduation ceremony in upcoming March. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Saya Kozoni. Then, we will have a question and answer session. Dr. Sasayama, please begin.
All right. Thank you, Saya, for your beautiful story. Let me ask you a few questions. So, what helped you gain this new sort of different perspective on your relationship with your grandmother?
That was a great question. Thank you so much for asking. So at first, it started from scratch because it was new to me and there were nobody who experienced the same thing around me. And I felt very shy to speak up the topic in the first place. So I started Googling that from online, like what kind of stuff, so what kind of countermeasure the people who have gone through the same experience did. And I found some techniques and I found some books. And I thought what suits me the best was talking to somebody. But I felt like talking to people whom I know was a little bit overwhelming because friends haven't gone through the same thing. And my family was busy with their work and taking care of my grandmother. So I thought the best thing is to rely on the third party for my case. Yeah.
Thank you. So the lessons you learned a lot of lessons, right, from interacting with your grandma. So those lessons that you learned, do you think they can be applied to other hardships in life?
Other hardships, yeah. Thank you so much for the insightful question. I think personally, yes, I think those countermeasures are applied to every situation. For example, for the first step, stop getting angry. It doesn't have to be about the family. When we talk with your friends and when we are in some relationships with some people, we always need to control our emotions sometimes in appropriate settings. So we have to kind of take a moment and rethink about our next steps before we say bad words. And yeah, before we hurt everybody's feeling, we have to stop and rethink what's going to next. And for the second steps is about creating a shared goal. It can be applied to teams and the schools as well. If the reader says, oh, let's do this, let's do that, let's start this, let's go there. But if people cannot sympathize with it, nobody is going to follow. So we have to kind of create the shared goal and the same purpose together. For the third step, I think it's about going to therapy, but it doesn't have to be the therapist and professional, and everybody can find people who suits them. So I think it can be applied to any situations.
All right, very good, thank you. So maybe let's talk about that second step a little bit more. I do think finding a shared goal is important, but maybe that's something that's not really easy to do, right? So do you have any tips on how we might do that?
Thank you so much for the question. For my case, I had belonged in some sort of internships. That is a work. But even in the work organization, people had some different goals. Like, it seems like we have the same shared goal in the same company and group, but everyone had the different goals. Oh, I want to launch my own company in the next couple of years. I want to do this by myself, and I don't want you to be the leader this semester. But I started talking about what encourages and what energizes us the most when we talk with people. And if I know what makes them motivated or what makes them feel like they are engaged in or belonging to the team, I feel much more easier to kind of get along with that people and create a shared goal together.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Sasayama. Then, Dr. Jacobson, please.
All right, thank you. That was a wonderful, emotional, and sincere speech, so thank you very much for that. A great description of the feelings you experienced as your grandmother's condition changed. My first question is, what were you able to pick up from your grandmother about her experience as her condition changed? Was she aware? Did she talk to you about what she was feeling or noticing? Or what was her evolution in this process?
Thank you so much for asking that. At first, nobody noticed that what she was going through. So both like emotionally and physically, it was like this, like it was invisible. So, or at the first time we noticed something wrong with her is that she got very grumpy and angry with every small sentences we made. For example, like when I said, "Oh, Grandma, you forgot to do this. What are you doing?" And if she was normal, she said, "Oh, sorry, my bad." That's it. But she started to be very grumpy. Why are you accusing me of not doing this? Why are you why are you stressing me out of these small, tiny things? And I started noticing that something might be wrong with her. And I started talking with her, not directly, but indirectly. So I asked her, "How are you feeling today? And let's go for a walk." And I tried to avoid to ask what she didn't remember and what she's feeling now. But indirectly, I asked her how she is feeling, and I noticed that different situations.
Great, thank you. I think many people in this room have dealt with a similar situation. And my particular problem is always impatience. I get impatient, I get frustrated. Do you have any tips or tricks that could help someone like me when I feel impatient about how things are going?
Thank you so much. So I want to tell this tip to everybody, but scientifically it is proven that if people wait 6 seconds before we take some actions, it is said that we can kind of calm down a little bit. So before you react to it, I recommend you to wait 6 seconds at first and clear your mind. And I also recommend you to recognize that your feelings first. You don't have to deny how are you feeling, but you can just understand, and you can understand how are you feeling. You feel frustrated, and then you can have the 6 pause and think about the next action. Nobody wants to hurt anybody, so you might be able to think about the next action that won't hurt anybody.
Thank you. Last question, caregiver burnout. So the process by which we just can't do it anymore. Like you said, we're trying to pour from an empty cup. This is a widespread issue. So beyond personal therapy on an individual basis, what kinds of community or governmental support might help out caregivers?
Thank you so much. So there are some couple of ideas for me right now that comes up in my mind. But the first thing is that government can have some sort of like online portals. It can be AI as well too, but some sort of online supports that everyone can share the same experiences too. When I Googled therapy in Japan, it didn't pop out. Like it was just like a massage therapy thing, and I struggled to find the therapy I was looking for. So government can maybe launch some platforms that everybody can access to it, and the counselor doesn't have to be the person and professional. It can be AI. Sometimes I ask ChatGPT too. So it can be one idea, and also more likely, I think. Having the community and the sense of belongings is also the effective way to feel that, I'm not only the person who's going through the same thing. So having that community even in the local club or school might help a bit. So people can kind of choose the way they are looking for it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Jacobson. Again, thank you so much, Dr. Sasayama, Dr. Jacobson, and Saaya Kozeni. Saaya Kozeni, please return to your seat. Please give the judges a few minutes to mark their judging sheets. Next, let me introduce the 6th speaker, Natsuki Eba from International Christian University, will deliver the speech under the title of What We Refuse to Lose Before Convenience Chooses for Us. What We Refuse to Lose Before Convenience Chooses for Us. Natsuki Eba, please come up to the center of the stage.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Natsuki Eba. I hope you enjoy my speech. What we refused to lose before convenience chooses for us. A few months ago, I went to study abroad in Australia, and I joined a program where students worked on proposing solutions to challenges faced by public organizations. I had been excited about the lively discussions, creative ideas, and insightful perspectives from diverse backgrounds. But in reality, most of what I ended up doing was simply typing prompts into ChatGPT so it could generate a workable solution. I felt devastated and asked myself, why am I here? The process I was most passionate about had vanished because of AI. I became anxious that the little moments of my excitement might be gradually taken away from me in the future. Over the past few decades, our daily lives have become incredibly convenient. The arrival of smartphones completely changed the way we live, And now the world is fascinated by artificial intelligence. As an ordinary university student, I also appreciate AI because I no longer need to find a native English speaker to check the grammar in my speech contest script. It is clear this growing convenience brings us enormous benefits. However, we should recognize that convenience can quietly take away something meaningful from us. That process, convenience, cuts the original process down to something as short and efficient as possible because it is often seen as a hassle. But actually, the process can add depth and richness to our experiences. So, what makes the process meaningful? Imagine you want to buy a book. Online shopping is extremely convenient. You just scroll, click, and the book arrives. On the other hand, going to a bookstore takes time and effort. But it is exactly this process that matters. You step outside, walk through the aisles, and maybe ask a clerk, "Excuse me, do you know where this book is?" "Oh, thank you so much." And when you finally found the book you were looking for, the one next to it suddenly catches your eyes. You pick it up, open it, and flip through the pages. This scene, this small journey, is exactly the convenience has taken away from many of us. One remarkable gift that the process offers is serendipity, unexpected moments of discovery, such as finding a genre of books you never meant to explore. Those chance encounters expose you to unfamiliar values and creativity. Another important aspect of the process is human interaction. Traditionally, paying, ordering, or asking questions always involved human contact. Even a brief exchange of words or simply sharing the space with others gives us the little sense of connection, something essential to us as social beings. What I want to tell you is now, we let ourselves, carried along by convenience, unconsciously undervaluing the process that used to be a natural part of our lives, an essential part of our journey. The loss of process could weaken not only personal well-being, but also the vitality and public health in the society as a whole. For example, my Instagram feeds are filled with dogs. Just dogs. I don't really like cats. My friends often tell me cats are adorable as well as dogs. But my Instagram hardly recommends cats. What I mean is personalization is carrying the risk of narrowing our perspectives in cultures and politics. Also, losing chances to encounter unexpected ideas leads to the stagnation in innovation. In recent years, self-checkout machines or online services allow us to live without speaking to anyone. This could lead to greater social isolation, which seriously affects our mental health. In fact, WHO claims that the mental health issues continue to worsen worldwide. Now and going forward, more and more processes may disappear in the name of convenience, and we will continue to benefit from that. With that in mind, how should we deal with the erosion of human experiences and qualities? The point is, we need to protect the process on purpose. At the societal level, for instance, schools and companies should distinguish between tasks performed by technology and those by human effort. while preserving the spaces for innovation and creativity as well as the opportunities for social connections. Also, we may need to challenge the overly personalized content and encourage critical thinking. Government should pay more attention to the effect of loneliness on children and people living alone, and design cities and policies with human connections in mind. And what I want to emphasize today is what each of us can do as individuals. It is to understand what truly enriches your own life and protect the process on purpose instead of letting the convenience replace it. Personally, I don't want to compromise my passion for creativity. That is why I want to go to a bookstore on purpose to encounter my little moments of excitement. How about you? What process would you like to reclaim to enrich your own life? Before convenience chooses for us, let's decide what to refuse to lose. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Natsuki Eba. Then, we will have a question and answer session. Dr. Sasayama, please begin.
Natsuki, thank you for your thought-provoking speech. Now you're ready for some questions?
Yes.
All right. So I personally agree with everything you said, but sometimes people are attracted more to convenience than to reason, right? So how would you convince others, say your friends, to appreciate the process more?
My personal thought is that we don't need to convince or we don't need to force my friends or my family because the value is different in person. So if a person is really appreciating the technological progress or maybe instant result, I don't want to force them to value the process more. However, for example, through this speech or through the discussion with me, that person loves creativity, maybe they can think critically, oh, in this world there is kind of person to think like that. So it might be a key to notice the value of process, maybe, I hope.
Right, good, thank you. So at the beginning of your speech, you mentioned that you joined this program. And if you were to join the same program again, if you could relive that experience, what would you do differently? Or would you do anything differently?
I think one of the issues in the program was the organizers didn't have the regulations or rule of how to use the artificial intelligence. So maybe if I can attend the event, maybe I will tell the organizer, is there any regulation or is there any recommendation how to artificial intelligence to in our discussion? And also I would try to tell my group members, from now, for a minute or for a few seconds, it's okay, but I want to discuss in person without artificial intelligence. It might be good for our critical thinking, creativity, innovative ideas. So let's do that. How do you think? Maybe I'll ask that.
Okay, good, thank you. So like you said, technology has made our life really convenient, and that's great. But in your opinion, how could we strike a balance between convenience on the one hand and serendipity and human connection on the other?
Thank you. This is the most difficult part in my content. I also appreciate the technology, and maybe a lot of people easily get carried away the how efficient, how great the conveniences are. But if you try to understand what truly enriches your life, for example, when you in a childhood, maybe something makes you enjoy and you remember that and you can think again, what process do you want to reclaim to truly enriches your life? It's one of the way I think.
Okay, thank you. Maybe one last quick question. So for you, what might an ethical use of AI look like?
Sorry, can I ask one more time?
So for you probably think it's okay to use AI, right?
Yes.
For, your study, your work. What does an ethical, how can you use it in a way that doesn't cause the kind of issues that you mentioned in your speech?
I think that information education is very important to understand the AI ethics, and also the governments or companies should rethink the importance of AI ethics, and we should learn by ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sasayama. Then, Dr. Jacobson, please.
Okay, thank you. That was a very intellectually sophisticated speech with a great recognition of the pros and cons of evolving technologies. I really liked your balance of understanding the good parts about it and also some of the negatives. Most of my questions are about solutions. So you talked about bookstores as one example of places where we can seek out process. What other activities or places in our daily lives can we experience to have the same thing?
I think it's the similar thing, but music and movies are great examples. Now we can watch the movies or listen to music in our house in the subscription. So without going to movie theaters or going to a city shops, we can listen to music. But maybe the process going to the city shops or cinema included the encounters to unexpected moments, like enjoying something with friends or families, talking something sounds different from the purpose, like getting CD or music, but it could be a small journey or great small memory as a human experience and qualities.
Great, thank you. When I was preparing for my remarks today, I read an earlier version of your speech where you talked about writing handwritten letters to your friends. Could you tell us a little bit more about that process, how your friends responded, and what you've learned from that?
Yes, so in my first script, I was mentioning that I don't want to compromise my depth of my personal relationship, and I want to make efforts to write handwritten letters or meet them in person. That is one of my important value, and maybe sometimes it's awkward and I feel shy to give handwritten letters on birthday to my friends. I am already over 20 years old, but I think the shy moments are really enjoyable, and as I mentioned before, it could be a great little memory and great little gift. So I like it.
And have you continued or expanded that practice?
Yes, I continue on the birthday of my friends. I give handwritten letters, and yes, I enjoy it, and I would like to continue it even when I become an adult. Yes.
Great, thank you. Lastly, for our third speaker, I asked a question that referenced Australia's ban on social media for young people 16 and under. And I'd like to turn that question over to you. Should AI be banned for or used in schools for students 16 and under?
I think to ban is not a good idea, because when we grow up, we need to coexist with artificial intelligence. So without the experiences to use AI in a childhood, it is not a great thing, I think. So I think the school should make the regulation or rules on AI, and also, as I said before, the information education, including the teaching the AI ethics or how to coexist it with AI, is really important in schools.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jacobson. Again, thank you so much, Dr. Sasayama, Dr. Jacobson, and Natsuki Eba. Natsuki Eba, please return to your seat. Please give the judges a few minutes to mark their judging sheets. Next, let me introduce the seventh speaker. Kotaro Miyauchi from Keio University will deliver the speech under the title of May the Right Language Be With You. May the Right Language Be With You. Kotaro Miyauchi, please come up to the center of the stage.
Appreciated Master of Ceremony and distinguished judges and others. These days, it feels like everything has to be global. The very sound of globalization drives not only governments or corporations, business persons, but also students as well. Have you ever felt you aren't global because your English isn't perfect? I bet dedicated English learners like you, ladies and gentlemen, here today have felt this at least once. I grew up entirely in Japan. I'm not a returning like others, and I used to hate studying anything. And I was just another student trying to survive by earning some famous English qualifications like TOEIC. I mean, no offense, but no offense. And since it is highly evaluated at recruitment. But as I grew up and more passionate about learning, I became absorbed in physics. And that's when I realized there's true value in creative subjects, not only in practical English. But look around my surroundings, and many of my friends spend most of their time on memorizing English vocabularies. And then I've got a question. Is the improvement of students' English proficiency truly essential? And here's my thesis. The important thing isn't making everyone fluent, but matching the right language to the right person. Well, let's ground the terms. Globalization is when goods, capital, and information move across borders, and people who keep this movement going are global talents in this context, and I've defined two types of them. First ones, people who create value, like researchers, engineers, designers, artists. Let's call them makers. On the other hand, people who carry value to the world through languages, negotiations, storytelling, and let's call them communicators. So both matters, but they need very different superpowers, like Iron Man and Captain America. They're in the same team, but different gear. It's also like Sherlock Holmes and Dr. John Watson. And Holmes discovers truth, and Watson will amplify it so the world can understand him. Oh, let's move on to the actual global talent, Shohei Ohtani. When Major League Baseball team evaluated him, the decisive metric wasn't score of IELTS, obviously. It was 100-mile-per-hour talent. Radar gun measures velocity, not vocabulary, which means his performance crossed the borders. And that's a maker whose value travels before the words do. And he's not alone. Hayao Miyazaki's film needed no English monologue to conquer box offices and win the Oscars. His story and breathtaking paintings did the talking. On a more familiar scale, even a factory craftsman who cannot speak a word of English can still be considered a global talent if he can manufacture airplane parts for Boeing. However, in this country, the conversation often slips into one tiny box. Global talent equals very fast English. In accordance with my definition, people consider only communicators as global talents and trying to reform education, train more communicators by shifting curriculum, emphasize English. It's fine, but it's going to be a problem, could be. Because once pendulum of education swings too far into one direction, we will pay some prices. Price number one is thinking quality. Research in cognitive science shows that people think more clearly in their first language. And when you're taking courses of university or testing new assumptions or ideas, this is especially true. Working in your strongest language often means thinking faster, deeper, and cleaner. But some universities are trying to teach everything, include highly specialized course in English. And this actually can lower students' learning efficiency. And price number 2 is learning cost. English and Japanese live far too apart, and lifting every Japanese students to the same high level takes enormous times. And if we put those hours uniformly into English while school days, we obviously squeeze other subjects. Math or science or experiments, the field where Japan can stand out. Now, I'm not dismissing English at all. English is like a force multiplier, and the important things is who, when, and how deep. Not everyone sprinting toward the same finish line. Depth that matches the role and aptitude. So, how should education be? It should be balanced. Balanced. Well, its purpose is to build a foundation for potential makers and communicators, not trying to make them. To build a foundation. And they don't have to be a perfect speaker, and they don't have to be. And what matters is to planting seeds for those who will be. They will study by their own. And my fellow students, how should we respond to that? The first step will be a personal. Each of us need to ask, am I more of a maker or a communicator in long run? If you're a communicator, then yes, you should invest seriously in English. Because if your future is in international communication or diplomacy or relation, English is your part of your toolkit. And however, foreign language is not enough. You need solid knowledge of your field, what you communicate about. And if you are more a maker, my proposal is different. First, focus on deepen your expertise or specialty or interests, and spend most of your energy to learn how to write a code or run experiments or understand theories. Then learn just enough English that roles requires you to do so. Publishing papers or reading papers, emailing collaborators, so on. And then, it is important not to be swayed by a misguided notion of globalization, but to use the right language in each context. Foreign languages can become powerful tool for communicators to help more people acknowledge makers' ideas, but when it comes to understand makers' ideas and when it comes to understand theories and makers' own, it could be obstacles. And after all, on a global stage, makers create value and the communicator will amplify it. And together, we elevate it. That's a flywheel. And let me close this with a clear principle. Not everyone must become fluent, but matching the right language to the right person. With a country limited resources, this is not a luxury, it's a strategy. May the right language be with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kotaro Miyauchi. Then, we will have a question and answer session. Dr. Sasayama, please begin.
Thank you, Kotaro. So your speech was entertaining and mind-stretching at the same time. So thank you. All right, so let me ask you a few questions. What does ideal English education in Japan look like for you? And can you give some concrete examples?
These days, the governments are trying to step forward. They are trying to start the English curriculum from primary school. But for me, it's too much. There are many good things of Japanese education that they are good at math or something. And I don't want government to break them. So specifically, I like current situation because I mostly learn English from school's materials, and I mean, I'm satisfied with that. So I don't want to change it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So students don't always know what their future holds, right? So you don't necessarily know if you're going to be a maker or a communicator. So how do you think they can choose or they can decide how much English to learn?
I mean, well, they don't know. I don't even know, but they should think whether they are communicators or makers. They should think, but I mean, there is no specific standard or condition that I can show to you. But what is important is, say, center of gravity of each person. I mean, there are always tendency. I mean, I'm a bit hesitating with math, but speaking English is kind of fun and entertaining and looks cool for me. Then you can probably adapt to communicator. But I was firstly communicator-ish person. Then I turned into maker. So, I think that's the most interesting part of your life. So maybe your role will change right in the middle of your life, and then you can enjoy it and do your best.
Okay, thank you. So could you identify any potential drawbacks of your suggestion, and how do you propose we would deal with them?
Well, I've seen many friends or classmates that blindly study English, and despite he seems to have talented of math, but he didn't go to science faculty since it is not practical and low salary, or I mean, but this theory, I mean, model can help them with understand their role or position among the people or society by simplified 2 pillars. So maybe this model can help them with identify what they are or who they are.
Okay, thank you. Maybe one last quick question. So language learning actually has a lot of different benefits, right? So be it social, psychological, or cognitive. So it's not just about global communication, but there's a value in learning a new language. It doesn't have to be English, but you know. So what do you think about that? What is your take on that argument?
I mean, English is important, definitely. And I like English, and English helps me a lot. So, I mean, there's no way to stop learning English. But, well, it's just like speaking English equals justice is current Japanese's vibe. And I think that's not right. English is fun, but not be forced to learn.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sasayama. Then Dr. Jacobson, please.
Okay, thank you very much for that speech. It was very heartfelt and direct. And I especially like the way your personality comes through and you're able to connect with the audience very, very authentically. So when thinking about your speech, I often think about the high school students and sometimes middle school students I see on the train, and they're studying so hard with these English 300-word books, and you can tell how stressed they are. And I'm right next to them, and I just sometimes feel a sense of empathy, like, how about I take a piece of my brain and give it to you for this test? What practical advice would you have for these junior and high school students who are on their way to a big test in English?
Advice?
Yeah, advice of a mindset that they should adopt as they approach these tests, which to them can be very stressful.
Well, believe it or not, I wasn't a very diligent student, but so, well, universe is large, and that tiny test won't affect your entire life, so just go easy and, yeah, don't take it seriously. Like, if you're having an entrance exam, then that's going to be a, well, problem, but I think it's just a tiny, small quiz in the classroom, so don't be so sweat. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Your argument suggests a kind of different approach for young people based on different levels of aptitude. When's the right time to give those tests so that you don't shut off opportunities for people who may just be a bit of a late bloomer? They do have these abilities, but maybe at that time they don't. What's the right time frame to sort of make these decisions?
By entering university, I think, because university is very specialized education association, and that 4 years will determine who you are and what life are you going to have. I think so. I mean, starting CPA's study from high school is nonsense, I think. I mean, I'm from integrated high school, so I see those sort of students very often. But I think it's nonsense. But entering university and, know the reality of society, or, I mean, the chances you hear about recruitment or business will increase after entering university, then you can start to think about your career. Yeah. So don't be rushed, but quickly.
Okay, thanks. And this last question connects to Dr. Sasayama's question as well. Language is not just about words and grammar and sentences and spelling and things like that, but really it's a window to different cultures and different people. How can we teach global cooperation, international relations, all those things without language or in other ways besides language?
I think internet is fine. I mean, there are many funny so-called memes on the internet, and I like watching it, but it is required us to understand other cultures' context or some basic English words. So probably there's going to be a window for them to dive into the other cultures and try to enjoy them, understand them. So, and don't start from textbook or newspapers, but internet or funny videos, silly videos is fine, I think.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Jacobson. Again, thank you so much, Dr. Sasayama, Dr. Jacobson, and Kotaro Miyauchi. Kotaro Miyauchi, please return to your seat. Please give the judges a few minutes to mark their judging sheets. Next, let me introduce the last speaker. Aiki Shirakawa from Waseda University will deliver the speech under the title of The Invisible Smoking Room. The Invisible Smoking Room. Aiki Shirakawa, please come up to the center of the stage.
Thank you, the Master of Ceremony, Timekeeper, and distinguished judges. Good afternoon, everyone. Excuse me, but did you smoke? Can you ask that to a stranger sitting next to you? Most people likely cannot. That's because it sounds like you stink, which might lead to unnecessary conflict. It's a hard thing to say to anyone, even if you know them well. That's why most people tend to put up with the unpleasant smell of cigarettes and keep quiet. I was the same. However, recently, I came to realize through my own experience that something important is missing from our society. What is it? A few years ago, I was on a Shinkansen bound for Kobe to participate in a singing contest. The passenger next to me began rocking his leg nervously and left his seat. But 15 minutes later, he returned, his body reeking of cigarette smoke. I felt sick. I have asthma and cannot tolerate smoke, so I had paid the extra fee early to reserve a seat farthest from the smoking room. I was confused. How did this happen? I was by the window feeling completely trapped in an invisible smoking room due to his smoky breath and the smell clinging to his clothes. It was nothing short of torture. How was he then? He was just relaxing and enjoying watching videos on his smartphone. Similar situations may be happening around you, even on campus. Aren't there students who smoke right up until class, then rush in and sit next to you without hesitation? They believe that as long as they follow the rule to smoke only in designated areas, non-smokers have no grounds to complain. But why do they think that? And why do non-smokers stay silent? One day, I happened to find the clue on a warning notice in the elevator lobby of my apartment. It read, "Please refrain from smoking on balconies as the smell is affecting other residents' laundry." After seeing the notice several times, I became curious and started researching whether smoking on balconies was illegal. That's when I came across the concept of third-hand smoke. Have you ever heard of it? Third-hand smoke refers to the toxic particles that linger on a smoker's hair, clothing, and indoor surfaces long after the visible smoke is gone. Studies show that smokers exhale harmful substances for at least 45 minutes after smoking. When others inhale these residual toxins, they can experience health problems either immediately or later on. Suddenly, I remembered the night I arrived in Kobe. I had an asthma attack for the first time in years. Perhaps it was caused by third-hand smoke. Apparently, third-hand smoke is a well-known concept in many developed countries, but why hasn't it taken root in Japan? While second-hand smoke is being addressed everywhere, third-hand smoke is rarely discussed and the concept is severely missing from our society. That's likely why that passenger on the Shinkansen and those students could sit next to non-smokers without hesitation. Even non-smokers who want to speak up often don't know where to start. In March 2024, 6 months after I decided never to reserve a seat on the Shinkansen again, the Tokaido Shinkansen abolished its smoking rooms. I was thrilled to hear the news. But in that interview, a middle-aged man said, "It's so sad, but there's still smoking areas on the platform. Well, I'll be okay since I can smoke just before boarding." Did you know that Japan is globally lagging behind in smoking prevention movements? In 2004, Ireland became the first country to introduce a nationwide smoking ban, and many others followed. They recognized that protecting public health from passive smoke is more important than the convenience of smokers. In 2023, New Zealand attempted to pass a law banning smoking for the younger generation. Although the legislation ultimately failed, it sent a powerful message to the world. It's now 2026. Even though the world has been moving away from smoking for more than 20 years, Japan still clings to the idea of separating smokers and non-smokers instead of aiming for a total ban. The idea of separating smokers may sound reasonable at first, but the concept is vague and has many hidden issues. For example, isn't it strange that non-smokers are often required to clean smoking rooms in cafes or restaurants? It's said separate smoking has changed from a matter of manners to a rule, but what difference does it make if the victims continue to suffer? When I was trapped in the invisible smoking room on the Shinkansen, why did I stay silent? It was because neither I nor that passenger knew about the concept of third-hand smoke. But now, I can't stay silent anymore. In fact, the opening question of this speech, "Excuse me, but did you smoke?" was actually the one I asked the senior speaker assistant sitting next to me while waiting in line at a speech contest. It was not easy to say that, but he casually replied, "Oh, you noticed? I forgot to charge my e-cigarette today. The paper ones stink." I just said, "Did you know I'm about to give a speech about third-hand smoke?" and walked onto the stage. After hearing he returned to the smoking room right after my speech, I felt powerless. But later, I learned he had looked up third-hand smoke while inside. A few weeks later, he said that though his habits haven't changed much, he sometimes thinks about it while smoking. In his words, I saw a spark of hope because I knew I had successfully planted the concept in his mind. So, smoker or non-smoker, let's take time to research and understand the third-hand smoke correctly today. Share it on social media and discuss it with your friends and family. Your actions will change people's awareness. Let's aim for a society without not only visible smoke, but also invisible smoke, so that nobody would be trapped in the invisible smoking room anymore. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aiki Shirakawa. Then we will have a question and answer session. Dr. Sasayama, please begin.
All right, thank you, Aiki, for your insightful speech. You're ready for some questions now?
Yes.
All right, good. So your opening remarks, right? Saying something like, "Excuse me, but did you smoke?" is not something easy to do, right? So can you think of a way to express our discomfort a little bit more gently?
Well, like in the speech, when I talked to my senior speaker assistant, I thought I was kind of being as polite as possible by asking him subtly and kind of in a whispery voice. But, well, I feel like I'm going to be in the position of getting the effect of, well, third-hand smoke. So I feel like I'm already being as subtle as possible. But if I had to be a little bit more gentle, I think I would pick a few more careful words like, well, I don't think there's a better way than "excuse me, but did you smoke?" But I think it's also for him or her, like the speaker assistant, who has to know that they smell and others can smell them. Yes.
Thank you. My second question. So how do you think we can strike a balance between public health and personal choice, like smoking?
Could you elaborate a little bit?
Elaborate on it?
Could you repeat the question?
So my question is, how can we strike the balance between public health and personal choice, like smoking?
Yes. So a lot of the smokers think that smoking is a personal preference and not a public hazard. A lot of the younger generation these days, they seem to think that just because you moved on to an e-cigarette, there is no harm. I think the important thing for all of us to know is that there is an invisible harmful chemical in the smoke, even if you cannot see it. So the important thing for all of us, whether it be smoker or non-smoker, is that we need to keep in mind that when you inhale the exhaled smoke from a smoker, you're also taking in harmful substances. And I think by everyone knowing that it's not just about personal preference or manners, we can overcome this by keeping a little distance so that everyone can live more peacefully.
Okay, thank you. So towards the end of your speech, you talked about the importance of awareness raising. So apart from that, apart from raising awareness, what do you think we can do to address the issue that you talked about in your speech?
I have two suggestions. One is for university students. So if you ever have a class that allows you to openly express your opinions in any subject, I would definitely recommend trying to talk about these topics like third-hand smoke, second-hand smoke, and those professors that host these kind of classes, they're usually very lenient. So if you bring up these kind of new topics, they will definitely give you an A, speaking from experience. And the second one is that usually in your cities, there's an opinion box. So try to talk about plastering third-hand smoke posters in smoking rooms. I actually did that, and I received a letter from my city saying, oh, we will only do these things if the Japanese government or the Tokyo metropolitan government will says so. So if everyone in here goes to their city office and posts about these ideas in their opinion box, I think they will try to take more measures. So please do it. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sasayama. Then, Dr. Jacobson, please.
Thank you so much for your talk. Excellent emphasis and flow with your speaking style. You have great voice modulation between humor and seriousness, so that was really well done. I've been in Japan now more than 20 years, and to hear you say that Japan still has a ways to go is a bit surprising, because I remember when I first got here, it's night and day difference in terms of smoking compared to when I got here. So what do you think Japan has done well to bring smoking down as far as it has come in the past 20 years?
Well, Japan has, actively talked about third-hand smoke. For example, like the Ministry of Health, Labor, and Welfare has posted about it on their website. And there is like some kind of measures being taken, especially during and after the 2020 Olympics era. But I feel like it's not enough compared to other countries' standard. Like, for example, in the WHO FCTC, there's 8 articles that all countries that signed it have to follow, but Japan only has like 4 done properly. So I think that there are some steps taken, given that the number of the smokers, like it used to be 17%, now it's down to 14 in 3 years, but I feel like it's still not enough, if that answers.
Thank you. Next question, I'd like to reference our fourth speaker today. When talking about plastics, he put a lot of emphasis on corporations and sort of corporate responsibility to stop these negative issues. So what do you think is the role of Japan Tobacco or different companies that benefit from people being addicted to smoking?
So, like, for companies, they have their own policy, I believe. So I've heard that some companies like Eon and Menicon, the eye lens company, they've already implemented company rules like you cannot use the elevator after smoking for an hour, because that's the harmful substance that is there in your breath. As for like other companies, I think they haven't really reached to that extent yet. For corporations, I really hope that they also take like extra steps to follow the companies that I just mentioned and start like banning the people from using the public areas, common areas where they can put others under the influence of third-hand smoke.
Great, thank you. Last question is connected to Dr. Sasayama's second question, and it's just, what are the limits to this kind of concern? Could we have a situation where people who have been drinking should no longer be on a train because they might smell, or people wearing strong perfume or cologne? Beyond just the aspect of the health aspect, do you worry about a society that is too strict and too controlling?
Like, I think the biggest problem here is that all of us, we are not aware that we are putting others under the the harmful air. A lot of people these days, they often tend to associate smoking with smell harassment, which is not precisely the same. Because if it's the case of a perfume, you will feel uncomfortable, and it is not something pleasant for all of us. But it doesn't really have the same kind of harmful effect as smoking, because for smoking, there's 255 chemicals inside, and I think that by knowing this topic, we get to reach a better society where we can all create a little distance is enough for us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jacobson. Again, thank you so much, Dr. Sasayama, Dr. Jacobson, and Aiki Shirakawa. Aiki Shirakawa, please return to your seat. Please give the judges a few minutes to mark their judging sheets. Ladies and gentlemen, now we would like to begin the closing ceremony. To begin with, the judges and questioners will give us some comments about today's speeches. Firstly, Dr. Shoko Sasayama will give us some comments. Dr. Sasayama, please come up to the stage.
Hi, everyone. Big congratulations on your wonderful performances today. Listening to your speeches, it was clear that all of you have put in so much effort into preparing for today's speech. We always admire your dedication. I know all of you are really excited and eager to hear about the results, so I'll keep my part really short, okay? So all of you did very well today, so I'm just going to share with you 3 small tips. Yeah? So first, this might come as a surprise, but try not to make your speech too complete. So obviously, you want to make sure that your main message is clear and well developed, but by leaving out some side stories or details or examples, you can actually spark curiosity and make the audience want to hear more from you. And use the Q&A strategically to expand and tell more of your story. Second, consider allowing a bit more flexibility. So when a speech is over-rehearsed, it might sound a little bit mechanical, or you might actually feel, or you might actually lose the passion that you originally had. You don't always have to follow the script word by word. So just know what you want to say and say it in your own words. I know it's hard, it's risky, but if you can actually do it, you can make your speech sound even more genuine and sincere. And lastly, always look for an opportunity to improve your holistic English ability, if that's your niche, right? All right, so doing so will help you do better on your performances, on your speech performance, and also during the Q&A. From second language acquisition theories, we know that for successful second language acquisition, we need input, output, and interaction. So always look for an opportunity to read and listen, speak and write, but more importantly, talk to others in English. There's actually a lot you can learn from interacting with others and using the language for communication purposes. I know some of you are graduating But if you get another opportunity to participate in a speech contest like this one, I hope you'll keep my suggestions in mind next time. So regardless of the results, you did very well today. You showed the courage on the stage, so you should all be proud of yourselves. So congratulations again, and best of luck to you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sasayama. Next, Dr. Justin Jacobson will give us some comments. Dr. Jacobson, please come up to the stage.
Thank you. I must admit to feeling a little pressure at this moment. We've just had 8 wonderful speeches by 8 energetic and engaged young people, and now I have to follow them, and I must say I don't know if I'll do quite as well as they did, but I will do the best I can. I want to start with congratulations to every single speaker who stood on stage today. Regardless of the final results, you have already achieved something meaningful. Writing a speech is not easy. Revising it is not easy. Practicing it again and again, refining your timing, adjusting your tone, managing your nerves, all of these things are not easy. Then you have to come up here and stand in front of an audience. That effort deserves recognition. In crafting some remarks to wrap up what we've heard today, I was reminded of something mentioned in one of the speeches, Ms. Ava's reflection on the importance of process. She reminded us that convenience can erase the richness of process. And what we've witnessed today is a beautiful example of why process matters. Separate from how things went this afternoon, separate from who receives an award, the true value lies in the months of thinking, questioning, researching, drafting, doubting, rewriting, and practicing that brought you here. That invisible work, the process, is the true prize of the day. I also want to express my personal gratitude for the opportunity to be a judge. One of the greatest privileges of being a teacher is discovering that education is never one-directional. Yes, we teach young people, but just as importantly, young people teach us. Today, I learned about third-hand smoke and public health. I reflected on language and identity. I reconsidered convenience and technology. I felt the emotional weight of dementia through a granddaughter's eyes, something I too have experience with. I confronted environmental injustice, food safety, sustainability, resilience, and the hidden systems behind the word Kawaii. In these speeches, you've broadened my horizons, you've expanded my knowledge base, and you've challenged my assumptions. Listening to you today gives me hope. It shows that the next generation is ready for leadership. You are reflective, you are critical, you are compassionate, and you are willing to stand up and speak. So whatever happens next, please remember this. Today is not just a competition. It is part of your ongoing journey. The confidence you built, the insights you clarified, and the courage you demonstrated, those are the real rewards. Thank you for your effort, thank you for your honesty, and thank you for teaching me today. Congratulations to you all.
Thank you, Dr. Jacobson. Next, Ms. Saori Nakasone will give us some comments. Ms. Nakasone, please come up to the stage.
Dear contestants, dear organizers, and dear supporters, I'm delighted to be here. First of all, I extend my heartfelt congratulations to all speakers for your efforts and achievements. And I also wish to express my gratitude to the organizer and supporters who made this contest possible. I found all your speeches fascinating, stimulating, informative, and thought-provoking. I truly enjoyed them. You were covering the subject about which you felt strongly, and the message was getting through to us. Having said this, instead of going on sharing with you my general impressions, if I may, I would rather like to share with you my personal remarks on each one of your speeches that could be served as food for thoughts to further improve your English speech. So, therefore, if I may, I will make a brief comment one by one. The first speech shows creative approach. We were all invited to go on a trip to the world of Kawaii. At the beginning, the journey was filled with joy, but gradually, we started to observe the darker side of the same coin. And then you presented the idea of extended producer's responsibility, which focuses on the environmental impact of the product life cycle. But remember, there is another concept, which is responsible business conduct, RBC, which covers not only the environmental aspect, but also the ethic or social or human rights responsibilities across the business operations. Since your speech discusses wider issues, including harsh working conditions, labor issues, I thought you may also want to take into consideration of this principle as well. The second speech is another fascinating speech, so just one small comment. Try to avoid repeating the same word in your speech. Let's say more than 3 times or 4 times in one speech. Let's take a concrete example. For example, the word invisible, which is one of your key words in your speech. For you, fight against the food poisoning is something like fight against an invisible enemy in the battlefield. So why don't you deploy your vocabulary and use a kind of a military terminology? For example, how about the word stealth fighter? Stealth means staying hidden. The stealth fighter is a fighter, the jet, which can fly without seeing or noticed by enemies. So why don't you replace the word invisible by stealth, for example, to make your speech more attractive in line with your own perspective? The third speech was another inspiring speech, suggesting to use the skills of a photographer to overcome hardships and setbacks. I'm curious to know how, in concrete terms, you could redefine your failure at the university entrance examinations using these photographic skills in concrete terms. The speech number 4 deals with waste management, which has been one of the top or one of the pet subjects for speeches over the last years. 3 R's, reduce, reuse, and recycle, used to be a trendy slogan. But you think differently. You think that we should reduce and we should reuse, but not recycle unless it is absolutely necessary, because recycling ends up with polluting the area where they are dumped. This makes 2 R's, 1 R less. But this also reminds me of another concept, which is 4 R's, 1 more R, which is refuse. So this may be considered as another way of preventing waste before it is created. The next speech is full of affection and love. You talk about your own personal experiences with your grandma, and you didn't know exactly how best you could interact with her. And it's good to write your speech based on your personal experiences, and also it's good to see you broaden the scope of your speech from your own personal experiences to universal issue or global problem or universal issue, so that the audience, with or without having such a problem, empathize with you and your feelings. Next speech discusses pros and cons of the AI. The AI, yes, deprives us of the joy of the process, which offers the serendipity, unexpected encounter in our life. You give an example at a bookstore where you happen to pick up one book flips through the pages and decides to buy that book. But don't you think that the similar things sometimes happens to you while you're browsing the internet, where you happen to find something interesting and you click on the link, and then you find something more interesting. Isn't this also called serendipity? I wonder how we can differentiate serendipity online and serendipity on site. The next speech has unique perspective. You divide decisively the people on the earth into two groups, makers and communicators. In your opinion, Shohei Ohtani is a global person belonging to the group of makers because of his athletic ability. But imagine he's a two-way player, pitching and hitting, and that's the very reason why he's highly evaluated. As you rightly pointed out, language is not enough, and communicators should have the message to deliver, while makers should have the enough language skill to convey their message with their own words, ideally not through the interpretation. So I wonder if we can aim at becoming dual role players like Shohei. The last speech was also fascinating, in which you talked about the nasty smell of cigarettes, which makes you crazy. It's a social and public health debate, and how we can strike a balance between personal freedom to smoke and protecting people who experience health problems was already discussed during Q&A session. So let's take another example of kogai. Kogai is a Japanese term which means fragrance pollution. Affected people argue that strong synthetic fragrances caused by perfumes or air fresheners might cause health problems, headaches, and allergic reaction. But on the other side of the people claim that they are legally protected, and the scented products sometimes help them feel relaxed, and more importantly, personal choice should be respected. So this is another thing that we have to think about it. As I said before, what I mentioned is just food for thought. So there's no one single correct answer when making a speech. Once again, congratulations to you all. And remember, the more you practice, the better you'll get. So keep your eyes and ears open. Thank you very much again for having me this afternoon.
Thank you, Ms. Nakasone. Next, Mr. Arthur Mitchell will give us some comments. Mr. Mitchell, please come up to the stage.
So I'd like to say thank you, first of all, to the organizers, of course, but more importantly to the students who participated today. I really can't add much more than Professor Jacobson said and then Ms. Nakasone. Those are important things to really keep in mind. I want to tell you something about a personal experience. So I'm almost 79 years old. I've been a lawyer for 50 years. I've spent a lot of time talking to people, listening to people. Listening is really important, actually, before talking. Then reflecting, and I learn from other people. And so I want to thank all of you because I did learn something today. Not something, a couple of things. Today is a contest, so it sounds like there are winners and losers. There are no losers here because you can learn something from each other, from others, from your older people like me. So I think you have a chance to experience many things in the course of your life. You have a long way to go. You're going to be 100 years old one day. Long way to go. So I think the most important thing is to avoid boredom. Has anybody been bored? happens, you can be confronted with boredom. Today was very interesting. It was not boring at all, right? But what do you do with boredom? Well, if I recall correctly, Dorothy Parker, a very famous author, used to say something like, the cure for boredom is curiosity, but there's no cure for curiosity. So you just keep on going, things go up, they go down. I'm an outside director at a prominent company, and I had an opportunity to be questioned by 29 investment analysts yesterday. It's quite interesting. I regretted some of the things that I didn't say. Probably some of you regret some of the things that you wanted to say but just couldn't remember as you were speaking extemporaneously. But that's okay. Keep it in mind for the next time, because there will always be a next time. So thank you again for including me in your exercise today. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Lastly, Mr. Hiroatsu Fujisawa will give us some comments. Mr. Fujisawa, please come up to the stage.
I don't like this speech contest at all, because my job today is acting judge. I knew all speeches so good. We selected the top 3, but I guarantee top 3 and the others, difference is so small. Very tough job to making a ranking from 1 to 8. So I don't like this contest. But I hope everybody, if you have a chance, please come back to this contest in the next few years. If you lose your chance, then come back as alumni to support this contest in future, okay? I congratulate all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Fujisawa. Ladies and gentlemen, now, let us move on to the announcement of the winners. Mr. Hiroatsu Fujisawa, the president of IIBC, will be awarding the winners. Speakers, when I call your name, please come up to the stage. Now, I would like to announce the third prize winner. The third prize. The third prize goes to Aiki Shirakawa from Waseda University. The third prize winner will receive a certificate and a trophy from IIBC.
Certificate of award. This is to certify that Aiki Shirakawa has been awarded the third prize at the 4th Intercollegiate English Speech Contest for the IIBC Cup, February 21st, 2026. Congratulations.
Next, I would like to announce the second prize winner. The second prize. The second prize goes to Saaya Kozeni from Kobe City University of Foreign Studies. The second prize winner will receive a certificate and a trophy from IIBC.
Certificate of award. This is to certify that Saaya Kozeni has been awarded the second prize. おめでとうございます。
Now, I would like to announce the first prize winner. The first prize. The first prize goes to Natsuki Eba from International Christian University. The first prize winner will receive a certificate, a trophy from IIBC and the IIBC Cup.
Certificate of award. This is to certify that Natsuki Eba has been awarded the first prize. はい、おめでとうございます。すいません。おまけです。はい。
Thank you, Mr. Fujisawa. The 3 prize winners will also receive a personal computer as special prizes. Again, congratulations to the 3 winners. Also, thank you all the finalists for joining us today. All of you are the recipients of the finalist prize. Congratulations and thank you to all the speakers. Now, I would like to ask Natsuki Eba to give us some comments. Natsuki Eba, would you please come to the center of the stage?
Thank you so much for giving me that honorable prize. To be honest, I didn't expect the first prize because all the speakers' speeches were all so inspiring, and that also the delivery and the content of English was so fantastic. So thank you for having me today. As the Mr. Jacobson mentioned before, I think the process until today, I had been thinking my speech contest content for a few months, and the process of thinking deeply and sometimes getting lost in mind, or sometimes having the critical analysis from friends or families, those all processes were really great moments in my life. And I hope you all enjoy the process from now on too. And thank you very much for the prize and the judges, the organizers, and everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Natsuki Eba. Now, this concludes the 4th Intercollegiate English Speech Contest for the IIBC Cup. We really appreciate all of you here for coming and watching today. We hope to see you again at the 5th Intercollegiate English Speech Contest for the IIBC Cup. Thank you so much.